mediation, I'm very strategic. Like, if I was doing a mediation, I would have one student sit where Dakota is sitting and the other student sit here, so they're not next to each other. I would have one or two other adults sit in the middle. I usually don't include other students, again, because sometimes it's not helpful. And it's very much like, okay, it's this person to talk, you be quiet. Okay, it's your turn to talk, this person be quiet. When did you hear the other person say? Okay, ultimately, the end result will be both people talking to each other about how to avoid whatever conflict happened between the two people. So the problem solving is not happening from me, is not happening from the other adults. Eventually at the end, the two people who are in conflict have to be able to look at each other and decide what they're going to do. And one thing I always say is, I know not everything could be kumbaya. Sometimes people do it and they're like, oh, I misunderstood you, I still want to be your friend, da, da, da. And other times you're like, listen, keep your name out. You keep my name out your mouth, I'll do the same. We don't have to talk to each other. We have a class, let my teacher know I can't work with her. And I respect that as well. So the end goal towards mediation is not always like you guys have to be friends. It's just more of an agreement of how conflict will not happen. If that means you guys have to mutually agree to not speak about or to each other and not work together in class, then that's what it's going to be. So like, let's say Dakota is being brought to a circle because she's been late to school every day. Every single day she's walking in here like 9:45 with her Starbucks, unapologetic. And that's the next thing. In our community, anybody could bring anybody to a restorative circle. So like a student could bring another student, refer another student for a restorative circle. A teacher could refer a student. And guess what? A student can refer a teacher to a restorative circle. And so let's say, what's your name again? Deasia referred Dakota to a restorative circle because Dakota is like, unbothered about missing her first period class and coming to school late for the last couple of weeks, right? Usually what I would try to do, like if you come to me and say, hey, Dakota is being late, I want to do a circle with her. I would say, as her friend, you should probably let her know you want to do that, right? Because Dakota could feel like, why are you telling people my business? She didn't even realize I was late every day. So I would tell you before we even do this, hey, you should probably tell Dakota you want to do this, right? And then I would then grab Dakota and say, hey, you have friends really concerned about your latenesses and stuff like that. So that it's not a shock and a surprise when Dakota walks into a room with 5 people who want to talk to her about her lateness, because that could feel like you're being ganged up on, right? But if we kind of let you know in advance what's going on and we're concerned and we want to talk about it, then it's not as threatening. And Dakota should have to agree, okay, I'll sit in a circle of introduction. And then I will have, Deasia begin the discussion by talking about why she referred Dakota, right? And so Deasia will say something like, Dakota is my friend and I love her and I want her to graduate on time, but with her not coming to her first period class, she's going to fail and she needs that credit and I don't want her to fail, I want her to be successful and I want her to come to school on time. And Dakota will then get an opportunity to address what Deasia said. And Dakota will say something to this.
Thank you for considering my education, but if I want to be on time, I'll be on time. But thank you.
Okay. And so I get a lot of that, very short, sweet responses, but it ain't over. Because now we have other students and adults in the room who will get an opportunity to ask either one of you clarifying questions.
Okay. So I would ask, why are you late
Exactly.
all the time?
You know, New York City transfer my job.
Yeah, I was late today.
Fernando. Any other questions?
Is there a way that you can get to school on time, completely disregarding the trains? Could you leave earlier?
I mean, I could, but then I have to get breakfast, you know. Can't be in school hungry.
She has a point.
All right. Maybe she does. Do you have any questions?
Do you think that being late every day is positive for your educational experience?
It's not, but it's not my fault.
It is your fault. But if you wanted to, you would do what needed to be done to make sure that you were early, even if that meant leaving 20 minutes earlier from your house so you had time to get your sandwich and still get to school on time, regardless of the train.
I guess.
And also, it seems like you're giving Deja a lot of attitude when it seems like she's just coming to you as a friend that wants you to be to school on time and wants what's best for you.
But I thanked her.
Yeah, but it didn't seem very sincere.
Yeah. All right, so we could talk about the sincerity of her attitude later, but let's just stick with the issue at hand, which is Dakota is late and she's about to spend her entire summer in this building if she continues to be late. Any other questions?
Do you want to be here all summer?
I don't want to be here now.
So would you rather be here now or be here all summer?
Guess I'll be here now.
Okay. So it seems like we're ready to transition into the final part of the mediation, which is helping Dakota come up with a plan to be on time. Right? So you set the trains. So why don't we look at your schedule? Our students have to be here ready to go to class by 9 o'clock, which means it's safe to say you should probably be on this floor by 8:45, right? What time are you leaving your house and where do you live, Dakota? Huh? No, just.
Okay. I live in Queens, and it takes me an hour and a half to get here. So I get up at 7.
What time do you leave your house?
7:45.
That's not an hour and a half between 7:45 and 8:45.
But I need like rest. I have a lot of homework, so I stay up late. Sometimes I oversleep. My alarm, I don't hear it. I go to sleep so late. I get so much homework.
Okay. Do you stop in the morning? Because I see you at Starbucks every day.
Yeah, because I'm so tired, and he's going to keep me up in class. So I have to get something. And you know, the breakfast card is not out. It's when I come in.
Okay. So what I heard is I'm doing homework like my entire life. I have no time. I'm waking up late. And then it'll be like, oh, maybe it's something systematic. Maybe it's something I need to take to the AP and the principal about how the schedule is for some students and that they're struggling and they're not passing because they're not coming to school on time. So in this case, like if Dakota is sincere, which I believe she is, she's coming to school late because she's falling asleep late, she's falling asleep late because of her homework load, I would then tell Dakota my part in your plan, my responsibility in your plan to come to school on time would be to speak to the principal and the AP around possibly changing your schedule so that you don't have all these heavy hitter classes with so much homework, right? But there's still an element about it that Dakota would have to agree to for herself, which would be, you know, maybe waking up earlier until your schedule is changed. Like we're not going to wait until her schedule is changed for the changes to happen. It needs to happen immediately. So, you know, getting to bed on time and waking up on time, getting out of the house on time, and not stopping at Starbucks and sipping it and stuff like that would be some solutions that we will come up with collectively. And I will hold, and everybody will hold Dakota responsible. So another part of it is not just coming up with a solution, but everyone on the table, once we leave this room, holding Dakota responsible around coming to school on time. So I would give permission for all the adults and the students in the room to check in with Dakota every couple of days to make sure that she's coming to school on time. Right? And everyone usually will take like a responsibility. Like sometimes students in this situation would be like, oh, give me a number, I'll call you every morning and wake you up. Where do you live? Oh, I live in the same neighborhood, we could take the train together, I can stop by your house. And those are possible solutions that have actually come up in a restorative circle around lateness.